In this harsh and unforgiving market, what kind of stocks might eventually be worth buying into weakness, provided you're willing to be patient, buy slowly on the way down? How about something like Quintiles Transnational Holdings, Q for all you home gamers, the #1 contract research organization, CRO, that helps drug companies manage their clinical trials, especially the late-stage trials that the industry spends so much R&D money on. Here's a company that's the definition of a secular growth play. It has virtually no exposure to the world's economies whatsoever. No matter how weak the Chinese economy or even the U.S. economy gets, people will still buy medicine, and the pharma industry will still plow billions into bringing new drugs to market. And that's why the last time Quintiles reported in late October, the company reported a bigger earnings beat and raised the guidance. Yet this stock has been a total house of pain. It's down from $80 in late July to $63 and change today. Some of that's because of the whole drug pricing firestorm in Washington, although I really think that's a smokescreen, because it really doesn't hurt Quintiles. A lot of it is simply because the stock market is hideous. That's just how the name is down 6% since the beginning of January. So let's check in with Tom Pike. He's the CEO of Quintiles Transnational Holdings. Find out more about how his company's doing and where it is headed. Mr. Pike, welcome back to Mad Money.
Hi, Jim. Thanks for having me back.
All right, Tom, first we need a little perspective because this was a day where the biotech market, a lot of people feel it crashed, okay? There were no underpinnings. It just went down big. Does that mean that we should be thinking that Quintiles, a quarter or two from now, will not get a lot of new work because the biotech industry is not going to be funded as well?
Well, Jim, we see it a little bit differently than that. Over the past couple of years, there's been $74 billion of funds put into biotech companies, according to BioCentury. And that fund really needs to come into clinical development. If you think about it, these companies really aren't worth much unless their products are in the clinic. And so for companies like us, we expect over the next 2 to 4 years to see that $74 billion of funding spent.
All right, so what will be the drivers in 2016 then? I mean, is this companies in phase 3 that we're going to see their drugs? Or also, I mean, when I see these big pharma companies, all they're talking about is that they are not spending as much money on testing, so they're doing partnerships with Quintiles?
Well, when we look at 2016, we look back a little bit and look forward. If you look last year, we had 45 new drug approvals. And you look at that versus the year before, it was 41. It's the most new drug approvals in the United States since 1996. And so for us, what that means is that innovative drug development is alive. I think you've talked a lot, Jim, about the science, the tremendous science that we have right now that's driving things like immunotherapies and curing things like hepatitis C. And so really, when I look at our market, it's hard. You think about oil every day and issues that companies have in different sectors. But in our market, we have tremendous science. This science is, to me, this period of time is not unlike 100 years ago when we had the germ theory discovered by Pasteur and other real innovations. We really understand the science well. We have some really innovative drugs coming. And because of that, we're seeing an attractive approval environment. Because of that, we think 2016, for a business like us, and Quintiles in particular, can be a strong year.
Well, how do we balance that against the political backdrop, Tom? I mean, when I hear these candidates from both parties, it seems, they all think that the drug companies make too much money. But from your perspective, don't they have to spend a fortune just to be able to get a drug, to be able to be so we can use it?
Well, it's a good question, but really the way we see it, a lot of the focus right now is on pricing, and a lot of that pricing is around mature products. Some of it is on the new products, admittedly. But again, companies in our industry are largely valued based on the innovative drugs that are in their pipeline that are being developed now. As long as the country stays interested in innovative drug development, as long as the regulators do, as long as the patients do and the patient advocates do, there's a tremendous opportunity for this industry. I mean, some of the science, one of the great things about this conference, there's over 10,000 investors meeting companies out here that are registered and thousands more. And one of the great things about it is you meet companies with new mechanisms of action, new rare diseases being targeted. And I think if we just keep on this path with the great science, we will continue to have more drug development. And that will mean companies like Quintiles and, frankly, pharmaceutical firms that are of quality will continue to be very successful.
Tom, you've been in this business for a long time. One last question. What's the hit ratio these days versus the old days? We talked to Charles River. They get very early. They seem to be go, no go in the right way. Are many drugs now succeeding where it would have been, say, a much worse ratio 5 years ago?
Well, you know, there are all kinds of statistics published on this, and it's a little tricky. There are some numbers that it may be about 7% of the drugs actually get approved, other numbers around, but let's say it's a number like that. What we are seeing, given the targeted therapies, precision medicine, the quality of the products that are being developed right now, is there's some evidence that there's a higher rate of approval and more success. And again, this is because we understand better than we ever have before the science. And given that, even a small movement from 7 to 8% or 7 to 8.5% is a really significant movement. Now, for us in the industry, what we're really about is dealing with an aging society, a lot of scourges like cancer that we have not had enough cures or really therapies for. And I think this industry is laser focused on trying to take this understanding of the science and drive it into better cures.
But whenever I talk to you, I always feel like, you know, wait a second, the guys who want to crush the drug companies ought to be thinking about the bigger picture. Tom Pike, the CEO of Quintiles Transnational Holdings, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
The biotech's crashed, all right? Doesn't mean that it's the end of the world for what they're doing, for their living. Mad Money's back in. Booyah! Jim Cramer here from Mad Money. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube. Click here to subscribe and get the jump on my exclusives with CEOs, plus market news, investing advice, and a whole lot more.